Okay, so Mr. Fenner made a mistake, and he definitely forgot to turn the webcam on. So you got to hear me, but you didn't get to see me. But we're not making that mistake again. So I'm located in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, y'all. Yes, I told you I'd be here, and here I am. So we were just on the slide Leopold's abuse of the Congo. And now we are going to finish our discussion here, which is once the Belgian government got wind of what Leopold was doing, they sent uh, um, their army down there to um, take out Leopold's army and remove Leopold from power. Okay, the French became alarmed by Belgium taking control of this country because the French wanted the Congo for the same reasons Leopold wanted it, and as soon as Leopold left, France started to claim different parts around the Congo, and other countries followed suit as well to get into those rubber plantations. Now, it's important that I put up a disclaimer or a warning because the next slide is going to be potentially graphic. It's showing you guys what the people there looked like after Leopold's atrocities happened. And so, just a fair warning, feel free to skip over this if you're squeamish. As you can see, we're not just talking about adults, okay? Leopold employed young people specifically because they were more obedient. And if they got out of line, this is what happened to them. And it's really, I don't know, it's almost speechless because I could not imagine doing this to another human being, and yet they did it to thousands of them. And I guess it just kind of goes to show you when you're desensitized to things, you're able to do horrible things. And, it goes back to the discussion we were having last class on, in history, we can't necessarily say if things are right or wrong because everyone's version of right and wrong is different. But I can definitely tell you that I don't know a historian who would say this was right. I don't think this was right. This is something that I think, history looks back on this and people should be saying, why didn't we stop this sooner? That's kind of one of the regrets I think I have as a historian is that when I look at things in history and when I hope you look at things in history, you get stuck in this mindset of why didn't people change this or why can't we change this? And, we can't go back in time and fix the problems of the world. But we definitely can use the knowledge we have of the past to make sure things like this don't happen again. And that's why, I'm very serious when I say that you all are the future and you all will make choices or vote on decisions that ultimately will be for the betterment or the mistreatment of people. Okay? All right. It does not stop there. Okay? That's just one out of the two big players in Africa. Excuse me. I had a sandwich. And it's coming up. So, we talked about King Leopold, and he's from Belgium. You'll probably want to know that. I don't know, maybe because of a quiz or a test. Who knows? But the next person we're going to talk about is Cecil Rhodes. He is British. He's from Great Britain. He's a businessman and a politician, and he takes over South Africa, okay, or Southern Africa as it was back then. He makes his fortune from the diamond mines. He was able to establish a South African company, and it later becomes Rhodesia, which is modern day Zimbabwe. He becomes the Prime Minister of the Cape Colony in 1890 through 1896. And his goal was to have British control over all of South Africa. And he wanted a Cape to Cairo railroad. So remember, if we look at Africa as the north and the south, so the northernest part being where the Mediterranean Sea is, and the southernest most part being where the Indian Ocean is, he wanted to take a railroad from Egypt all the way down to the Cape down here. So he wanted to encompass the entire continent of Africa with a railroad system. Okay. He also becomes the architect or the grand British person in the imperialism efforts into Africa, specifically South Africa. Okay. And as it were, he also becomes the leading power. Great Britain becomes the leading power down there as well. What you're seeing here is a picture of Cecil Rhodes on the left. On the right is a pitiful. No, well, it could be pitiful, but it's a political cartoon again, which is showing that visual of Cecil Rhodes trying to create that conquering of Africa, that creating that railroad to run north to south, or in this case, south to north. It's a play off of a Greek statue that was one of the 7 wonders of the world. It was the Rhodes Colossus in ancient Greece. It was essentially this statue at the entrance of a port, and boats used to come in and out from it. No longer there. Pieces have been found, and they're currently in museums and at the bottom of the ocean. But the pedestal of the Rhodes Colossus is still there. But this is the play on that. Okay? You'll need to know that. That picture is very important. I don't know, maybe a tent or something. Alright, last but not least here. Our last political cartoon is the Mad Scramble for Africa, okay? Everybody wanted a piece of it, okay? Italy, Spain, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Britain, Germany, all of these people were coming after this left and right. And not once did they think that in their greed that they were going to be trampling on an entire people. Okay, we talked about Africa being huge. We talked about Africa being a continent made up of different peoples and different tribes and different African territories, and they didn't care. They went in there, they did what they did, and it left dire consequences. As I was talking to you all last on the video just before this, I said we were going to annotate a poem, and on the second half of this video, we are going to do that together. If you have any questions about imperialism in Africa, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll be gladly able to answer your questions. Okay. So here's that poem I wanted to talk to you all about. In 1899, British novelist and poet R. Kipling wrote The White Man's Burden, the United States and the Philippine Islands, urging the U.S. to take over other nations as Britain and other European countries had. So The White Man's Burden becomes this poem that's directed towards the United States, and its its need to colonize and imperialize and take the Philippine Islands. Now, in order for us to read this poem, I have to kind of give you the backdrop to why the United States all of a sudden wants to take the Philippines. So what happens is the United States at this point, we have ended the Civil War. We have finished Civil War and Reconstruction. We're about to break into the new millennium, as well as break into the new century, and all this stuff is going on. And the United States is trying to set up trade with China. And the best way to get to China and have a military presence there as well is off the coast in an island chain known as the Philippines. The problem that lies is the Philippines is currently under Spain, the country of Spain. And so the United States has to now figure out how it can get the Philippines from Spain. And what they find themselves doing is getting into a war with them. And it doesn't even take place in the United States or in Spain. It takes place off of the coast of Spain, and it's over Cuba. Okay? Cuba had been wanting independence. And so the United States sent essentially a message down to Cuba saying, we will help you gain independence if you support us. And Cuba's like, yeah, please liberate us. And so Spain gets upset at this, and we send our navy out to the coast of Spain, and our ships are made out of metal and their ships are made out of wood, and we blow their ships up, and they essentially surrender, and they lose because our navy was the best in the world at that time. Philippines sits down with the United States, metaphorically. I'm kind of giving you a rough, dirty version of this. And the United States demands certain things. The first thing that Spain is willing to do is give the United States Cuba as a territory, and we take it, okay? And we protect Cuba. We're like, yay, we've got Cuba. And we also get some other things, Puerto Rico. But then the United States says we're going to take the Philippines. And Spain says, no, you can't have the Philippines, it's ours. Now, mind you, Spain just lost this war. The United States has every potential to drive into Spain and continue fighting. But instead, the United States is so desperate to gain the Philippines, they are willing to pay them $16 million for the island chain. And they do. And meanwhile, while that's taking place, over on the other side of the world, the Philippines, they're like, finally, we're gaining independence. Woohoo! Yeah! Then, the Philippine government sends a letter to the United States saying, we want independence. Thank you so much. We drafted a Declaration of Independence almost word for word from yours. And we've also drafted a Constitution. And the United States says, ooh, so sorry, but you don't get independence because you're our property now. And that's that. I will continue this conversation on our next video.